This happened a few years ago when I moved into a new apartment complex. It wasn't anything fancy, just a small older building with thin walls and a single shared laundry room. Most of the tenants were quiet and kept to themselves, except for the woman in 2B. She was probably in her late 40s, but something about her seemed strange. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes always a little too big, and her eyes were always watching. From the moment I moved in, I noticed her. She was always around, always lingering. If I stepped out into the hallway, she'd peek through her door. If I went to do laundry, she'd suddenly be there, folding clothes she had already folded a dozen times. I told myself she was just lonely. Maybe she just wanted someone to talk to. But then, things started happening. It started small. I'd leave my apartment, come back, and find things slightly moved. My keys wouldn't be where I left them. My fridge would be open, even though I was sure I'd closed it. Then one night I heard a creak from inside my apartment. I turned, expecting to see something, but I was alone. I started checking my locks more often, double, triple checking them. I even put a chair against the door at night just in case. One evening I was heading inside when I passed her in the hallway. She stopped and gave me a smile, but it wasn't a normal smile. It was knowing, like she had a secret. I locked my door that night and shoved my dresser in front of it. I don't know what woke me up. Maybe a sound, maybe just instinct. But when I opened my eyes, my closet door was open. I always kept it closed. My breath caught in my throat. I reached for my phone, turned on the flashlight, and that's when I saw a bare footprint inside my closet. The air left my lungs. I wasn't alone. I barely had time to react before I heard a soft rustling sound from inside. Someone was in there. My hands shook as I reached for my bat. I moved closer. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. And then, the closet door burst open. The woman from 2B lunged at me, hands reaching. I swung. The bat connected with her shoulder, sending her stumbling back. She hit the ground shrieking like an animal. The police arrived minutes later. They found a small hole in my closet wall. She had been crawling through it. For weeks, she had been sneaking into my apartment, watching me. When the police searched her place, they found a pile of my things. Clothes, books, even some of my food. She had been living inside my apartment whenever I wasn't home. The landlord told me later that she had lived in the complex for years. She was supposed to have been evicted months ago, but she never left. She just found a way to stay. I don't know what she planned to do that night, and honestly, I don't want to know. I moved out immediately, but to this day I still check my closet, just in case. Because sometimes, I swear I still hear her breathing. My name is Bruce, and this happened during my last year of college. I lived in a small apartment complex near campus, mostly filled with students, but there were a few older residents. One of them was a man who lived at the end of my hallway. I never learned his real name. Everyone just called him Mr. Powell. He was in his late 50s, maybe early 60s, tall and wiry with greasy gray hair. He always wore the same threadbare brown coat, even in the middle of summer. He rarely spoke, but when he did, his voice was raspy, like someone who had spent years smoking or screaming. At first, I barely noticed him. He kept to himself, never caused any trouble, but then, little things started happening. One night, I came home late from a study session. As I stepped into the hallway, I saw him standing outside his apartment door, watching me. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, staring, unblinking. I nodded at him. He didn't nod back. I hurried into my apartment and locked the door. I told myself he was just an odd guy, maybe lonely. But that wasn't the last time it happened. Every few nights, I'd find him standing in the hallway. Always when I was alone. He wouldn't say a word. He'd just stare, like he was waiting for something. One night, I woke up to a strange noise. Scraping. I sat up in bed. My heart was pounding. The sound was coming from my front door. Someone was fiddling with the lock. I grabbed my phone and crept to the peephole. My stomach dropped. It was Mr. Powell. His head was pressed against my door, ear tilted as if he was listening. His fingers traced the edges of the lock, like he was trying to memorize its shape. I froze, watching in horror. He stayed there for what felt like forever before. Without a word, he turned and shuffled back to his apartment. The next morning, I went to the landlord and asked about him. The landlord sighed, looking exhausted. "Just leave him alone," he muttered. "He's harmless." I didn't feel reassured. A few nights later, I was in my room, scrolling through my phone, when I heard the soft scraping again. This time, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my baseball bat, yanked the door open, but no one was there. The hallway was empty. I was about to close the door when I noticed something. The peephole. It was dark, like something was covering it. I stepped forward, and just as I did, a muffled voice whispered from the other side of the door, "Let me in." I slammed the door and locked it. The next morning, I stormed back to the landlord's office, demanding to know who Mr. Powell really was. The landlord hesitated before finally sighing. "Look, man, Powell doesn't live here." I stared at him. "He used to," the landlord continued, "years ago. But he was evicted for breaking into people's apartments. He kept watching them, taking their things, hiding inside their closets. We had to call the cops." I felt my stomach twist. "But he still comes back sometimes," the landlord admitted. "I don't know how he gets in, but he does." I moved out 2 weeks later. I never saw Powell again. But sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I hear scraping at my door.